Surprise! So, if you are joining me and you have participated in the Mind Your Mouth Challenge, you already know it's supposed to last 3 weeks. And this is beyond the 3 weeks. And this is a bonus lesson, y'all. That's the only way I can think to describe it. After we wrapped up last week, I was chatting with different people and they were like, we should keep this going. And I mentioned that it's a lot of work, like doing the weekly videos. I am a one woman show, and so it takes an investment in time and money and resources. And so I love doing it. Do not get me wrong, I enjoy doing this, but it really does require some sacrifices. But in between having those conversations, I had this other idea how we talked about everything through the think framework, right? Of how you can mind your mind and mind your mouth, and how to keep from saying the wrong thing, and how to make sure that whatever thoughts come to you before you speak, before you act, you ask those questions. Is it true? Is it helpful? What is the intention? What is necessary? Am I being kingdom minded? And y'all, I got some feedback that it works. So it's helped us all to be a little bit more intentional, and I hope that that keeps coming. But one thing that we didn't get to talk about was just the positive things that you can do with your mind and with your mouth. We focus almost wholeheartedly on being more considerate, pausing, reflecting, and all of that is good. But I just wouldn't feel like I had done a good job if I left this piece out. And so for this bonus lesson, it's going to be shorter, but I hope that it's packed with some additional insight and inspiration to help you carry out the Mind Your Mouth challenge. That it's beyond just self-control, which that's very important. We know that is a fruit of the spirit. We know that that is very important. But one of the things we talked about in the last lesson, as far as being kingdom minded and surrender, I want you to understand what happens when you surrender. I want you to know the gifts and just the wonderful relationship that comes with you and God when you surrender and you engage in those thoughts and the positive things that can occur when you think. And so, again, just going to spend a few minutes in this bonus lesson walking you through a few things that can add to using the think framework. So, do you remember how in the first lesson I mentioned how God plants seeds? And those seeds are words, ideas, visions, great things. Great things. God plants these things in your mind, in your heart, in your life. He brings people into your life, resources, relationships. All of these are seeds from God. And when we're not careful of the words that we say and the words that we think, instead of nurturing those seeds that God has planted, we then plant weeds. We plant weeds of doubt. We plant weeds of fear. We plant all these negative weeds that could possibly choke out the seed that God planted. So, what does it take to truly nurture those seeds? And some of these things you already heard about it, but I just want to reiterate it because in my life, I've seen how engaging in these practices really help to nurture those seeds that God has planted in my life. And so, number one, devotional time. Devotional time with you and God. Now, that can look like a variety of things. I don't want you to feel like it has to be a certain way. You don't have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and grab your coffee and journal your thoughts and your feelings. Some of us like doing that stuff, but some of you, instead, you may want to wake up at 8 a.m. and get started with a worship song. Or maybe you want to listen to a sermon while you're working out on a bike or something like that. It can look differently for different folks. What matters is you get some time set aside for you to commune and communicate with God. And it doesn't have to take 30 minutes. It could take 5-10 minutes. Now, I feel like the more and more you do it, the more you want to spend more time in that study and in that devotional time. So you will perhaps increase that time over time. That's kind of a tongue twister. But the point is setting aside that devotional quiet time so that you can, again, hear from God and showcase that you are devoted to surrendering. So when I mentioned what would it look like to surrender my day to God, it included picturing myself in devotional time, picturing myself really sitting and listening and expecting God to show up. That's part of the beauty of devotional time, is that you begin to train yourself to actually have this wonderful, this positive, this good expectation of God to be a part of your life, of God being active in your life. The other thing that I want to recommend, if you are looking at ways that you can nurture those seeds that God has planted in your life, I want to encourage you to spend some time in nature. Now, I know we all live in different places, and where I'm at, it's getting really, really hot. So it's a little hard to spend a whole lot of time. But even if you can just perhaps go out on your deck or open up a window, whatever, so you can hear the birds sing, right? When you hear those birds singing, perhaps it will remind you of Matthew 6, where Jesus tells us that, God takes care of the birds. And you see them, they're going about tweeting, flying, going wherever they need to go without a worry. God cares just as much. Actually, God cares more for you. And so we can be inspired by nature because we understand that God's glory is reflected in creation. And so going outside, taking your shoes off, feeling the grass, whatever it takes to connect with nature in a new and different way is a wonderful way to begin to nurture those seeds. The other thing that I feel like has helped me develop myself spiritually has been in creating and making. So I'm a writer, so of course I create stories, but I've also played around with painting. Wasn't planning on trying to do anything professional with it. It's just that I wanted an outlet for my creative expression. Singing, I enjoy doing that. But here's the thing. I feel like when we talk about being creative, we only think of activities like that. And what I want to let you know today is that you are a creator. I don't care what you think you are not, because I can already hear it. You're like, no, I don't do stuff like that. Being a creator is more than artsy activities like writing, painting, singing, dancing. If you like to make new recipes and experiment with different flavors, you're a creator. If you like to construct things in a home or to build structures, or if you like to fix things and repair things, you are a creator. If you enjoy coming up with new solutions and ways that a company or organization or anything could do better, you are a creator. That is a part of your divine identity. And that's the part that I really want us to zoom in on for a couple of minutes, because when we think about all these thoughts that bombard us every day and some of the negative words that come out of our mouths, what are we using that prompts us to do that? A lot of times we're using our imagination. That's what's happening. We are allowing those seeds of fear and doubt to then grow up and help us to imagine the worst possible things, to imagine the worst outcomes, to imagine the worst case scenario. So, if you have the capacity and the ability to imagine the worst, what does that mean? You also have the capacity and ability to imagine the very best. And knowing the good God that we serve, I believe that he gave you this gift. He gave you this ability. He gave you this capacity because he is a creator. That is the first version or first role in which we meet God in the Bible. In Genesis 1, we meet God as creator. And in Genesis 1, chapter 1, verses 26 through 27, it says, "Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, both male and female." He's making mankind in his image. God, the creator. You are created to create. You are created to create. And when you don't use that ability and capacity, I feel like that's why it's easy for you to come up with all these crazy scenarios that will never happen. I have a friend who tends to worry a lot, and I told her, you would make an amazing, amazing horror story or sci-fi fiction writer, because you come up with situations that I'm like, I never thought that was possible. Like, that's a very wild path that you're following that is so negative and so crazy that you had to use your imagination to come up with that. And so every day you're using your imagination. Every day you're using your creativity. Every day you're being a creator. And you need to start wondering, okay, I have this ability. I have this power. Am I using it for good, or am I using it for negative? Am I using it for opportunities that could perhaps advance my life, the life of others, the kingdom of God? Or am I just reiterating all the other negative things that I've seen already out there? It's a challenge. That's the challenge. And I challenge you because I am convinced there's still some people out there that are like, nope, I'm not a creator. I'm just not a creative person. And I challenge that thought because, again, don't allow the way the world defines creativity and being a creator to influence what you believe about your own identity. What does the Bible say? What does God say? What does God's track record say about who you are? And so we've allowed the world to limit what it means to be creative, to limit what it means to be a creator. And so by then limiting ourselves, we're missing out on a very, very important power. Our creative power to think of new ideas, to dream of what's possible. That is incredibly limiting. That is why we have so many problems in this world and so many challenges in this world, because there are some people, you're not using your imagination for good. If anything, you're just constantly using your imagination for all the negative stuff that is being reinforced. And as a child of God, and as someone who wants to be kingdom-minded, I need for you to start dreaming up some good things for the kingdom. I need for you to start thinking of some positive solutions for the kingdom. I need you to use your imagination. And so, like I said, this is a very, very quick bonus lesson that I want to just get you fired up. Get you fired up, because it has been an amazing few weeks going through the Mind Your Mouth challenge with you. And I just felt like it was only right to just give you just some more practical tips and ways that you can think, ways that you can manage your mind, ways that you can manage your mouth, because we know it is an ongoing process. And so I want you to begin to embrace your inner creator. I want you to think of some ideas that you could start on this summer, where you are giving yourself the permission and opportunities to imagine good things, where you're setting aside space and time to be creative. And again, don't limit creativity only to artsy things. Being creative is really about just, again, making things and imagining things in your mind that have never existed before, or looking at ways that they can be improved. And so I believe we all have that capacity. I believe we all have that ability. It's just a matter of us using it for good, using it for the kingdom, using it to bring God glory. And so God has planted those seeds in your life, and I want you to water them. I don't want them to be choked up by the weeds. I don't want them to be uprooted by all this craziness that's happening in the world. I want those little seeds to grow up and to be strong and to be changes that could affect generations. Because we've got to know that the work that we're doing, the things that we're imagining, when we think about imagining a vision for the future, it's not just for us. It's for our kids. It's for our kids' kids. It's for generations to come. And that's what makes it so exciting. And that's what makes it so worthy. And so I hope that you spend some time today and over the next few weeks continuing to use that think, use the think framework. Asking those questions. Is it true? Is it helpful? What is the intention? What is necessary? Am I being kingdom minded? And as part of being kingdom minded, baby, you got to be creative. And so I had to hop on to share this with you. I hope that it has been a blessing. It's been a blessing for me because I missed y'all. So who knows? I may keep popping on. This may be a never ending challenge. Yeah, who knows? But anyway, it was so good to see you. And I hope that you continue on this journey in your faith.